Forbes recently published an article saying 75% of healthcare professionals are going to leave the profession by 2025. There are so many reasons why doctors are leaving the NHS, and in this video, we're going to break it down. If you don't know us already, my name's Abdul. I'm a junior doctor in London and the co-host of Scrubbed In podcast.
My name's Ams. I'm also a junior doctor in London, the other co-host of the Scrubbed In podcast, and we're both the co-founders of Peerr, where people can learn from their favourite educators. So let's dive straight into it now. So you just gave the Forbes quote, and I'll give you the Guardian quote, right? That's, to put it into just normal language, that's 400 NHS staff members leaving per week. Why is that happening? Why do you think that's happening?
So we can't really comment on the wider profession, but from doctors, I can clearly see why so many are leaving the profession. There are many reasons why doctors are leaving the profession. So hopefully we can cover a few of them in the video, and we'll hopefully kind of share our thoughts on the matter towards the end. So keep watching till the very end. So I'll throw it back to you, Ams. Why do you think is one of the biggest reasons why so many doctors are leaving the profession?
So let's go to a tweet that I actually saw, right? So I saw this tweet recently, and one of the person who tweeted it wrote something along the lines of, I requested annual leave 6 months ago before I started the rotation from another hospital, letting them know that I need the annual leave for getting married. Please don't put me on the on-call rota. And we all know that's a curse. When you request it, It's a curse, because what happens? Where you're always on the annual leave. You're always on the on-call rota. So she's done that 6 months in advance. She's gone to this new job, and hey ho, the rota gets given to her, and she's on call on her wedding day. Now, in any other job, 6 months notice, and they couldn't pull you out of that shift and put someone else in. So what is that trying to highlight? I think that's a frustration, and we see that tweet a lot. And everyone that's listening to me say this right now, they'd probably have all been in that position, right? Said, I need annual leave on that day. I've got a flight to catch. I've got a wedding to go to, or a friend's party, or whatever it is. And hey ho and behold, you're on call that day. And what happens is you have to find a swap. You have to find someone to cover your shift, or you have to turn up to shift. So it's the lack of control. What do you think? I think there's a genuine lack of control over your life and the ability to plan. The ability to plan your life. You can only plan it, a rotation, 4 months ahead, and then that's it. You can't do any more. So I think there's a lack of control, which frustrates junior doctors.
Definitely. Moving on from the Twitter one, I saw a different tweet, similar to the lack of control, but this time the lack of control not over your time, but the lack of control over your location. So I don't know if many people know, once you graduate from medical school, you have to do foundation training for 2 years, and you do a bunch of exams, and that kind of dictates where you work in the country. Then the scenario in this case was, she's a single mother. She wants to stay close to home, where her child's in primary school and she's quite settled there. And she had to move, 100 or so miles away from London, and had to kind of take her daughter out of school. And we already have a shortage of doctors. She couldn't do that. She had to take a year out, and that's one less doctor for the NHS, right? So what it shows is, not only is there the lack of control over your time, the lack of control over your location, a lot of frustration in medics for studying so many years, but you don't get to choose where you work. You're going to have to move to a whole different city altogether.
Do you think, though, at the high level, though, it's because doctors are so concentrated in areas, and that there'd be massive gaps of a supply of workforce?
Definitely. I don't know if it's a rumor.
What do you think is happening at the higher level? So say you're a director of the NHS, and you're obviously forcing people to go here and there and whatnot for their training. What do you think is driving it, though? Why not let
doctors
choose wherever they want to go?
So we had this discussion with some colleagues. So the problem that may arise is, if doctors are allowed to choose where they work, there will be certain pockets or concentrations of really good doctors, or doctors really actively engaged in research and academia, working in big cities like London, Birmingham, Manchester, right? And then you have other places where no one wants to work, right? Perhaps in the rural parts of the country. What that means is that, the quality of healthcare given to patients across the country will not be the same, right? The NHS is for everyone in the country to benefit from. So there will be a inequality, or there'll be a divide in terms of health quality and caregiving. So you have places, let's say London, that has some of the best care in the country, and then some rural village in the middle of nowhere where no doctors are there, and you probably have one doctor looking after 100 patients, on an on-call shift. So there will be a divide in health inequality.
But I guess there's better ways to solve that then, because those pockets, right? So for example, the GP scheme, right, where you get 20 grand cash or something up front, tax-free or whatever. If you go to a remote area that's pretty sort of desolate.
Incentives aren't there.
So I think there's a better way to average out and spread the workforce. Incentivization, right?
100%. And as doctors, maybe instead of being pushed out to a certain place you don't want to be for 2 years, why not have a certain rotation for 4 months or for 6 months, right? If you reduce the duration of somewhere where you don't want to work, perhaps that might be more appealing. Saying that, and it comes onto the next point, is the £20,000 incentive. Why do you need to give doctors a financial incentive? Why didn't you say to me, come here, we have state-of-the-art learning department or state-of-the-art labs to do research or get published in the Lancet or the New Journal of England Medicine? Why is it doctors are being paid 20 grand to move to a random location? Is salary to play in this? Why doctors are leaving the profession?
So come on, I think money is an absolute factor why people are leaving in this day and age. But I think it's not just money isolated, it's money to effort, workload, risk, all of that ratio. So if you think about it, right? So I think it's Ollie Burton that put this post up, right? I forgot the exact numbers, but 20 years ago, say doctors were earning 50, 60 grand or whatever. In today's money, we fall short by 3 or 4 grand a month. So if you think about it, the generation above us, they all bought houses and stuff, right? We can't afford, if you haven't got wealth behind you, generational wealth and family wealth, it takes you a long time to accrue that much money to buy a house. I think it's impossible almost to buy in London as a junior doctor. And as an F1, I think it was quite demoralizing when I saw my pay slip at first. So all of those years of studying, how much debt on your head, you've paid so much tuition, and then you see your slip and it was something like £12 an hour.
Yeah. So if you break it down to the hourly salary, so this is relative, right? So doctors on average do earn more than the national average in the country, right? But salary paid for your responsibility, for your time, your exams, your postgraduate exams, attending, conferences, seminars, subscribing to journals, which is another thing, to publish work, right? So we're talking in terms of relative to a career, where you spend X amount of number of years in medical school, make certain types of decisions. Comparatively, you are not paid the equivalent of your banker friends, or your lawyer friends, your accountants, right? Who work in the big firms. And we know that we have friends that work there.
Exactly. So I think, I think it's because also naturally, right? So if you're a doctor, you're rubbing shoulders with that kind of people, right? Lawyers, your bankers, your solicitors, all of those guys. And when you're looking at what effort they're putting in, what risks they're taking, you're thinking, I'm taking on a hell of a lot more. Yeah. But my salary is a fraction of yours. Yeah. But you got bonus? Exactly. They're like, you get a bonus?
Another thing is, because you need to start preparing so early on in your life for medicine, I don't think you understand how big of an issue finance is in your life. When we started med school, we were young, single, no marriage, no kids, right? Having got through medical school and starting working, you then all of a sudden realize you got bills to pay, you got rent, you got family, you got kids to support.
No, but even in med school though, thankfully, I lived with my parents. I know people who, imagine we had to go to med school in Birmingham. You've got rent to pay as well. Now you've got accommodation and everything else to look after. So we were lucky as well, because there's students out here who are paying London rent to go to King's, Imperial, Queen Mary. So it breaks your back. And just think about it, from the age of college, I'd say it's head down in the books, getting A stars and A's, and it's placements and work experience, and it's non-stop, and you get to £12 an hour.
I think doctors do earn a good sum of living relative to other professions in this country, but I don't think it's a true reflection for what they have to do, what their job role and tasks are. And this kind of moves on to the next point swiftly, is being a doctor 10 years ago is very different to what being a doctor is now. And you have to understand, we now are millennial doctors, right? So the ability to change careers, to change jobs, to work for a startup where the salary is often double at a minimum is a lot more easier and a lot more receptive. So as a society, doctors are willing to leave the profession to go work out these banks or these consulting firms or startups. And I think it's easier.
Exactly. So what it is that, so we're in the digital age, right?
Yeah.
So take us back, 50, 60 years, right? We've seen mobile phones gone from a big brick to now an iPhone where you can record a YouTube video, put it up, and that's going to earn you revenue, right? So the ability to move on, the ability to do so much and transfer your skill is there now. I think before you might have been restricted. So if you say you're a doctor and you wanted to go and work for a firm, how do you apply? The application process is so long as in itself. So I think it's so much more easier. And then the other question is, so we touched on this in our 100th episode, the idea of medicine doesn't just equal becoming a doctor.
Yeah.
Right? So what do you think of that?
So I think a lot of the whole of medical school is geared up for you to become a doctor, and you have a specific skill set which allows you to be a good, safe doctor. And your whole life is about that, practicing medicine, kind of looking after other people, not caring about yourself, not caring about the money. Talking about money is a taboo in medicine anyway. It's only very recently we started to notice that, okay, people are talking a bit more about medicine. Literally a day ago, I sent you the tweets. Hundreds of people on Twitter are talking about salary, and it's not fair, and they're comparing it to people that work in retail or in a coffee shop or certain trades in the labor. So I think medicine skewed your perception of reality, skewed your perception of what finances is, skewed your perception of what salary is.
Saying that, this tweet broke my heart when I saw it, right? Oxford graduate, became a medic, and he tweeted something along the lines of, so similar background, comes from a migrant family, first in the generation to go to university, let alone medical school, become a doctor. And he said, I thought when I'd become a doctor, I'd be able to tell my dad he could retire.
Yeah.
And he said, I realized I can't even pay my own bills.
Exactly. So
that he went to Oxford, he broke all the glass ceilings that were there for him, and he said, and his tweet was, I thought I could tell my dad to retire.
Yeah, it's that perception, it's that thing that medicine is a safe career, that I 100% agree, and the pandemic showed that. And you think, do you know what, as soon as I become a doctor, I've spent X years of studying, minimum 6-7 years, right? No one needs to work again, I can look after my parents, I can go on fancy holidays. And like you said, when that salary comes and a tax bill hits you and your rent and this and that, then you realize, yo, like I studied for so hard for so long and I'm only getting paid this. When you realize you can earn twice as more in a different profession or less responsibility and earn perhaps a bit less and be like, do you know what, it's worth it. At least I get my weekends, I get my nights off, I get, no on-calls.
Literally that. Or you look over your shoulder and your boy who's been with you since college days, he's flying off every so other month.
Remember, there's delayed earning, right? The average degree in this country is 3 years, max 4 years with a master's. And they start earning a lot quicker than you are. And they already have savings, they already have investments, they already have the deposit for a house.
Exactly.
So definitely. So obviously salary is a big thing. We're not going to spend forever talking about it in this episode. We just want to quickly cover the main points. But I think the salary today does not reflect the responsibilities and the roles medical professionals, particularly doctors, do. And the fact that it is so easy to change professions, to go to an alternative career and earn twice as much, if not triple, is so much easier and so more widely accepted. Goes to show such a big frustration is no doctor wants to leave the profession, stop being a doctor, right?
That's that. I was going to make that point. So no one, it's not an easy decision that you can just wake up and go, you know what, forget it. I'm not going into work. I'm quitting. I'm going to become... It's months, maybe even a year of... I think most people will locum for a year and it's in their mind ruminating, do I want to go back? And then it's like, you know what? I can't do this anymore. And you know what? In your locum year, you probably also taste what it's like to be paid well, to control your life, to have leave when you want, and to be able to plan your life.
I agree. And I think what someone said is, if they're paid doctors locum salaries, then they were more likely to start working, right?
Exactly.
And it kind of brings on the other point, and Ali Abdal kind of mentioned it, is so many medical professional healthcare doctors have side hustles. And when your side hustle is starting to pay you more than your day job, and you're enjoying your side hustle more than your day job, that's a very difficult place to be in. Right? So if you're earning a lot of money from YouTube or from content creation or from a startup or a business, and every day you're going to work and it's, poorly staffed, lack of resources, it's only a matter of time before you think, do you know what?
So that's opportunity, isn't it? So we're also living in an era of opportunity. So you think about it, the opportunity to be a podcaster, be a YouTuber, be a Skillshare teacher, be a peer educator. there's so many avenue, cryptocurrency, NFTs. Like it's a world of opportunity where you can now earn, do something you're passionate about, and you can do it as a side hustle. But the problem is, like you said, that side hustle becomes.
What happens? You love medicine. You've always loved medicine ever since medical school. You're fortunate enough to work in central London in a very, very busy hospital, where I got shipped out to Coventry. Let's say you had a side hustle. I don't know. You are a blogger, or you used to write weekly newsletters and people are paying you money. If your side hustle, let's say, paid 100 grand, right? We rejected a 100k job as locums to work on Peerr, right?
That's because we're crazy, though, yeah.
So that's a different story. But let's say your side hustle paid you 100k a year. You loved it. It had a good work-life balance. Would you leave medicine?
So I'm not in that position. So that's a good thing. I'm not in that position. This is the thing. So I've got a feeling that if I was in that position and I loved it and I had, again, control over my time, I'm not taking those risky decisions that I'm stressed over the next couple of days. I think I would. I can't see why not. I can't see anyone not. If you offered anyone, you're offering the golden ticket now to people. You're saying to people, wait, hold on. You can get money doing stuff you love. By the way, you can love medicine as well. I love medicine. I love working as a doctor, right? But in every job, in any job, you have moments of dips. I bet YouTubers have moments as well.
100%. I think that's another thing we want to say, yeah? People see these people on YouTube, on Instagram, on Twitter, thousands of followers. You know, they're sharing, I make X pounds per video. YouTube is a job as well. They have good days, bad days. They're scratching their heads trying to create content, script videos, right? Yeah, exactly. The one thing I want to make clear, and we'll talk about later when we share our thoughts, is the grass is not always greener on the other side, right? And that kind of moves on to the second point, or I don't know what point we're on now, is work-life balance, mental health, being overworked. Do we think these are reasons why loads of doctors are leaving the profession?
So, yeah, of course. The burden on you. So, like, when I see tweets about one junior doctor, one FY1 and a registrar overnight covering a whole hospital, can you imagine the weight? Like, you think, yeah, doctors are qualified, they're super smart people. It's not about that. It's about the circumstances you're in. Someone's arresting on that side. Someone else is arresting on that side. Someone is peri-arresting on that side. A&E's calling you because someone's going to deteriorate or they want to refer someone. And there's one of you or there's two of you. How do you do that? And we're all human. We all want to do the one job, which is we want to save lives. Now imagine being in those shoes, right? So the stress that's on you. And let's be honest, when you have a cardiac arrest, when you lose someone, it's not something that you just, it happened, you move on. It hits you. It stays with you. You cared for that person. So there's a burden, there's a mental burden on you as well. And then don't forget how it affects your life outside. So if you've got a child and you're working 7-day stretches and the money's not enough, say, and the rent is building up and there's more stresses that come along. So, and then you've got behind you, someone's knocking saying, you can come here to become a McKinsey consultant and literally. We'll reduce your hours to 9 to 5. You can go look after your kid. Oh, guess what? We'll also give you a nursery or something like that at the workplace. You're going to go there. So I think some of it is obviously there's push and pull factors, right? The push factors are what you're talking about, right? What about the pull factors? So the pull factor, one thing you said was, right, these companies giving you a nice salary, giving you better hours, giving you lower risks. You're not playing. You're not dealing with someone's life, right? If you mess up, you're probably messing up on giving some sort of advice or messing up a spreadsheet or messing up losing lots of money for a company, but no one's dying. Death is completely a different risk. Death is huge on your conscience as a human. So yeah, can you think of any other pull factors? Why would you go across?
I think you've covered it, and it's the same reasons why people are being pushed out of the profession. Salary, control over your time, control over where you study, where you train, work-life balance, mental health. Well, off the back of a pandemic, I feel sorry for the people that had to start foundation training in the midst of a pandemic. Like the pressure, the constant, the new rotas, so much death, dealing with a lot. Like those people at the end of it are going to be a very different type of doctors, right? And they already feel so burnt out. They're waiting for the time where they can take a break or take an F3 year. So,
and I just want to bring up an interesting point as well, actually. So, on the concept of people now talking more and more about money, burnout, mental health, openly walking away from medicine now, right? People, you'd think at first maybe people used to do it secretly. It's quite open now. People put it on Twitter, they get 50,000 retweets.
Like one of the guys, he had a coffee in his hand and he took a picture of the hospital and said, "Adios, NHS," on his last shift. And like, he was so happy. And, there's two sides of the coin. People are saying, "Oh, you're leaving the profession, you forsake it, you study so well." And other people are like, "Thank God you've left, now you can look after your mental health." Obviously, he was struggling. He went through a lot of personal issues at the time he couldn't do because of the work barrier.
So on that point now, right, this whole idea of heroes, martyrs, superheroes, even the media paints it, right? Doctors are heroes. Is there some sort of, do you think actually people are waking up to it? Because I think back before it was like medicine is a vocation. You have to love it. You have to be passionate. This is a thing that takes over your life. Your life is medicine. Do you think now the workforce is just turning around and saying, "No, it's not. It's not my life. I'm not a superhero. This is my job. I've been trained. I love it, but I need my fair due back."
Yeah. I definitely agree. I think people are starting to catch on that, do you know what? This job, this responsibility, I'm not getting paid enough for it, or there are some deep-rooted issues that are broken within the system. And at the same time, being a doctor 10 years ago was very different to being a doctor now. Back then they had free accommodation, they had free laundry, they had free hot meals, no debt. Tuition was for free, right? There's a concern of respect amongst doctors. The public revered them, respected them, right? Now the public, there's a lot of mistrust in the community, in the government. So there's a lot of things happening.
Yeah, and let's not forget, like, some of our colleagues, our GP colleagues, who are especially, a lot of them are also leaving the NHS. Exactly. I mean, everyone's saying GPs aren't working. Every single appointment is booked from Monday to Friday. Months in advance. They're seeing people probably every 5 minutes, forget every 10 minutes, right? But what does everyone say? You're not working. You're lazy. You imagine doing that much work and someone saying to you, "You're lazy." Exactly. Why would you stay? Tell me why anyone would stay in it. Imagine you're a consultant at Deloitte and someone says to you, "You're lazy, you're doing nothing." Yeah. I'm walking off, man.
At this, where you've sacrificed so much already. No, I definitely agree. And I think it's sad to hear stats like this. It's sad to hear colleagues, friends leaving the profession. Yeah. It's sad to see that is the health of the country suffering because there's a lack of doctors. People are leaving the profession. Doctors are unhappy to come into work. They hate Monday mornings. They're not getting time off to spend time with their families or work. But let's spin it on its head. Let's kind of share our stance on the matter. We've spoken to a lot of people that are ex-doctors, alternative careers, and we know to a certain extent how life is on the other side. And the first thing I want to say is life isn't always green on the other side. You may leave being a doctor to go and work for consulting in a big firm and earn twice or triple your salary. But a lot of them have said the satisfaction of treating a really unwell patient is nowhere near as satisfaction of creating a PowerPoint presentation. No offense to the people that do that as a day job, right? You're chained to your desk. As a doctor, you have autonomy. You get to make clinical decisions with experience as you become more senior. You're not tied to the ward. If you want to take a break and there's nothing happening on the unit, you can leave, have a break. There's a lot of things that you sacrifice when leaving medicine that you only realize you took it for granted, having then left the profession. If that makes sense, right? As humans, we always see the negatives. We never see the positives. So think of how many consultants have left consulting and now free agents, or they're kind of wondering, what did I do? Did I make the right decision? So I think being a doctor is probably one of the best jobs in the world. It's incredible. You get to do things that is inaccessible to so many people. You get to help people in their moments of need. It really is a privilege and honor. And I think maybe before before leaving the profession, maybe it's taking a break from the profession. Maybe taking some years out of medicine to pursue other interests and hobbies, and perhaps startups, or maybe locuming a year until the NHS fixes itself. But we don't know what's happening in the future, what the situation is. I don't know what your thoughts are on the matter.
So hands down, I was thinking about the question of would I advise anyone else to do medicine, or would I go back and advise my 16-year-old self to choose to do medicine, I think I'll probably still say yes, because what medicine has given me is more than I think what, say, if I did an economics degree or an accounting degree or, I don't know, a law degree would have given me. I think as a person, self-development wise, growth wise, medicine has given me more than I think anything else. So I think it's still amazing. And I think exactly like you said, the grass isn't greener on the other side. So for example, we worked for a startup before that failed. That hurt, man. You put in years and years of graft, years and years of investment of money, and what happened? You got no money from it back, and you also failed, right? Medicine has security. It's safety. I know a lot of people who went off to do many things, and during COVID, they came back because their new career collapsed on itself. Their company collapsed. So it offers that. Like you said, when you go into work, you do have that freedom and independence and camaraderie, right? With people. When you're at work, right? If you're with a group of people, you develop a bond with them, and it's a team. It's a real team. So yeah, there's sort of negatives and down points, but there is not a single job in the world that doesn't have those. Being a YouTuber, podcaster, consultant, this, that, and the other, everything has its down points. So it's a tough one, right? Because I might be a hypocrite in 2-3 years. I might turn around and I might have left the NHS to pursue Peerr completely. Like I'm doing nothing to do with medicine at all. I don't know. So it's a hard one to say what my stance is, but I think my stance is that medicine is still an amazing career. There's systemic problems that I think sleeping giants are waking up to. So I do think changes are going to be made. So for example, Ollie Burton is publicly, he's quite popular as a figure on in the digital web and everywhere. He's talking about money. How many people were talking about money 10 years ago, 5 years ago? Sure. More and more people are talking about mental health. More and more people are talking about being burnt out. More and more people talk about the rota, and more and more people are pushing back. So it's the systemic issues that I think need to be corrected. And I do think with these sleeping giants waking up, with people now ready to make a bit of change, I do think the landscape will change. Maybe not, I don't know, in our immediate 10 years. But I can see it happening. I
think it's one of those situations, it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah, it has to be like ground down to unacceptable levels.
And then it will kind of sort itself out, or something will happen. And I do hope whatever does happen is the right thing to happen for the country, for doctors.
And let's be honest, the new generation of doctors, I think they don't take crap anymore. They actually don't take crap. Like, and it's right. They're like, everyone's like, you're an adult, man, at what, 18? You graduate at 24, 25. You're an F1 at 25, and you're being babied. You're not a baby. So I think it's about time that people were just like standing up for themselves. So yeah, I think people just don't take crap anymore. I just think people don't take crap.
I think the new generation of doctors are more savvy. They're more tech savvy. They see more things on social media, online. They're used to expressing their voices and opinion in a very different way to when we were in medical school, and our seniors were in medical school, and the consultants, obviously a whole different era altogether. There are definitely lots of reasons why people are leaving the profession. I'm for taking a break from the profession, exploring your avenues, exploring it. But one thing I will say is, at the end of the day, no one deserves to be unhappy. And just because you've become a doctor doesn't mean you have to always be a doctor and suffer and affect your relationships and affect the quality of care you give to patients. Like, happiness and contentment is the most important thing. And like you said, medicine gives you so many skills and skill sets. It's a degree you can take it anywhere in the world and do anything you want. So I think that will be our stance. But like you said, we may be completely wrong. We may choose to leave the profession very soon, or we may stay, go back into training. Who knows what the future holds? But these are discussions that needs to be had. And this is our kind of viewpoints on it. Comment below for what you think are reasons why people are leaving the profession, why they're staying in the profession. Anything, we're keen to hear what people think.
All right, so just to wrap up now. Okay, so fine. So let's just go through we'll just brush over the reasons again for why people are leaving the NHS. So number one, we talked about life control. We talked about money. We talked about, what else we talked about? About the millennial trait of being open to opportunity, taking your skills elsewhere, wherever fits you, leaning into your passion. We talked a bit about martyrdom and that whole hero complex actually being stamped upon and dying out. We talked about public hatred, essentially, people slating us for doing our job and actually doing it very well. And the push and pull factors, of course, the pull factors from other industries actually liking doctors, because let's be honest, they're good, they do good analytics, they're critical thinkers, they've got good communication skills, etc., etc. So they're also attracting doctors into those industries. Yeah, I mean, in terms of our personal stances, so we've talked about taking it easy, not necessarily getting onto the treadmill and just running and running and running to the end. Take breaks where you want, take control of it. But we still think medicine is incredible. I think medicine is an incredibly safe career, provides you that good safety net, incredibly rewarding. And I think the issues are more systemic, that I think sleeping giants are on the verge of actually correcting in a couple of years, let's say though. Anyways, thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next video.